All right, guys, welcome to episode 2. Brad and Troy. Episode 2, we're talking about why most people stay comfortable, stay in their comfort zones, and then why really you end up paying for that later.
Yep, comfort is addictive, right? The brain thrives on comfort, and it's naturally a subconscious response.
For sure, dude. Like subconscious, like I think people think that and they don't really know what that means. But like the subconscious and then where the brain goes to, you will naturally kind of stay in your comfort zone, and it's kind of built into you, and it's at a subconscious level. So that's like a huge part where I think we always talk about finding that ability to be able to push outside that, rather than getting locked in that zone that you think you're comfortable in.
Right. And I think it becomes, or the problem lies in avoiding discomfort, staying comfortable. It becomes a habit,
Yep.
and not just like, we're not just talking about fitness. Every area of your life, it could be pervasive into every single business, family life,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I actually like that you say that, because I think everybody has a comfortable, like, being uncomfortable situation, right? So for me, workouts, I'm very, it's easy for me to be uncomfortable. I'm comfortable being uncomfortable in workouts, right? And I had to take that and I had to apply that to different parts of my life, because like what might be that for me might not be for somebody else. So you just said, taking that same thing and applying it towards different things in our lives. And I remember, for me to be able to relate to somebody, I had to really look, like, what am I, like, really uncomfortable, and I'm not comfortable at all being in that zone. And for me, it was always public speaking. So what I had to sit there and say is, okay, well, I got to get outside my comfort zone and start pushing myself to do those more. And that's where I kind of felt that shift, and knowing, okay, like, I'm not just gravitating towards things that I'm comfortable being uncomfortable in. Now I'm pushing outside of that. So I like that you say that it applies to kind of all these different things that you can apply to it in your life.
100%. Yeah. I think, a lot of people, they set goals or they have ideas of where they want to improve in life. They have like roadmaps to get there. But ultimately, if they fail, it's not that they're incapable of doing the thing. It's not that they're incapable of finding resources, learning the skill to be able to do the thing. It's that they delay it because they delay the execution and the thing they need to do because they're stuck in that comfort zone,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. So I think if you looked at most people and you took them, and everybody's comfort zones, you have to rip apart the layers, is kind of how I think of it. Is like, if you, let's just go a workout, for example. You put somebody on the bike, they are going to work as hard and in their capacity within their comfort zone, right? And they, in their own brain, might think that they're working to their max, because the brain, the subconscious, is kicking in at that opportune moment to be like, let's ease off the gas a little bit, we're getting tired. And that's that subconscious play, right? Or you and I were talking earlier, and you're running a mile, and suddenly your body is like, oh, I'm getting tired, or I'm breathing heavy. Like, that's your subconscious taking over and trying to pull you back into a comfort zone. um, hey, I don't like conditioning classes. That's keeping you in your comfort zone. Hey, I don't like strength training. Hey, I don't like going on date nights. Like, whatever it is, like, why is your first thought that's coming through your brain, like, what is keeping you from in that zone, if that makes
Yep.
sense. And I think that's kind of like why, like, a couple of the points you and I have talked about is essentially, why people get stuck. So, and we're kind of running through different topics you and I have found to be, like, important in these topics. Another thing outside of just the comfort is addictive, um, is fear of judgment, that kind of drives either that inaction or you to stay in that addictive comfort zone.
100%. It's fear. It's all driven by fear and perception, right? Because going back to your example of public speaking, also like probably like most people, fear of public speaking,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's your mind is working a mile a minute when you're on that stage in front of a large crowd. But the reality of the situation is the majority of those people in that crowd, they want you to succeed, you know, whereas that fear kicks in your own mind and you're thinking, oh, how do I sound? What's going off my hands? They're probably judging me. They're probably laughing at me in their head. When in reality, none of that is happening. So it's your perception. It's not reality.
Mm-hmm.
The fear, the fear that's driving you to inaction of whatever it is. One of the things that I could speak about is kind of like imposter syndrome. I think everybody feels that way about something or some aspect in their life. And I could think back to when I was first getting into real estate investing and trying to understand how to underwrite properties, how to value properties and real estate investments as a whole, taking in all the information from the income and expenses to the market information and tying it all together, and then ultimately trying to produce a package to pitch investors to show them the opportunity to try to sell them. And early on, I'm like, the anybody that I pitch this to is they probably are smarter than I am. Like they probably think what I'm saying doesn't make sense or that it's dumb, yada yada yada. And that was like I had imposter syndrome. Like I don't know enough to be doing this. I don't know enough. I haven't had enough time in this business. But in reality, I knew just as much, if not more, than what the investors were looking for. And I was just so held back, almost like analysis paralysis, by my fear or that imposter syndrome that I would just spend like all this busy work because I was telling myself, oh, I'm doing this. This is progress, you know. But really, it's busy work. It's not needle moving.
Mm-hmm.
Until I had to really like come to that point where it's like, all right, you prepared, you put in the work, you did all this. Now it's time to just push forward and execute and pitch that investor. Like, and it was at that point where it's like, well, shit, nothing like scary happened.
Yeah.
Like nothing like I was thinking. Like, oh, They think I'm really like unsophisticated or I don't know what I'm talking about. No, it was the opposite. Like they give praise and compliments on oh, this pitch deck is great. Yep. Your underwriting is like solid. It's conservative. Yada yada. Like all good things. I expected to hear the opposite, but it
Yeah.
just wasn't the case. And it was all held back because of perceived fear in my own mind. And I don't know how we just went down the rabbit hole of real estate investing and
But
underwriting.
that's like relating it to something else in life,
Right.
like like I always call that like self sabotage. Like I think that
Yeah.
like humans that and relate this to like our comfort zone is like we want to self sabotage any growth we have in our life to stay where we're comfortable. It's like like that's a perfect example. Is like you starting something new and you think that there's all these other people. Everybody starts from somewhere, right? And in you, like you said, everybody was great and it didn't pan out how your mind portrayed it to. But even if it did portray that way, who the fuck cares? Like you're always going to have naysayers and people that are like, oh, they didn't know this or they didn't know that. But like you're actually making the effort to learn more and to grow more. And I think that with what we do with fitness, that's such a huge thing because that fraud imposter
Imposter
syndrome,
syndrome. Yep.
people come in, they're like, oh, that person lifts more than me, they know more than me, I can't run, I can't do cardio. People are like, I can't come into a gym until I'm in shape, kind of thing. Is like they're in there, they're creating that bubble to keep them in their pocket of their comfort zone. And I think that's like the biggest thing about like the comfort zone is like you really have to like step back and see what you're protecting and why, and like why you don't want to venture into something that you've been uncomfortable with, why you don't want to try a conditioning class or a stamina class or a pole dancing class. I don't know, you can go on and on and on, right? Things that like keep you from growing on. And there's that fear of like looking weak. There's like the fear of starting at the bottom. There's the fear of like I just had this talk with my kids the other day because like I kind of talked about what we were one of our topics. And what they said was, you look at them, and my daughter was sitting there on the track and she's looking around all these people that are faster than her. So automatically what she does is she shuts down and she goes in this place where it's outside her comfort zone. Instead of looking at that as an opportunity to say, hey, they're better than me. How do I use this as an experience and get better? And just like your pitch in front of all the people that are in commercial real estate, how do I use this as an example and an experience to get better and
To
not
level
stay in
up.
my comfort zone and level up? And really quick experience I had is I mentioned the public speaking, and I had a guy that told me, oh yeah, I don't like public speaking either. But are you comfortable in that uncomfortableness? You know what I mean? And that's the difference, is you really got to find what you're being uncomfortable in, and attack that.
Yeah.
So,
And I wrote this down because do you know who James Clear is?
no.
The author of Atomic Habits.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Anyway, I'm subscribed to his newsletter, which I love. It's like very short, simple, and like very value packed. Such short like quotes. He has like ideas, quotes. But he had something. I think it was last week that I wrote down, and it really it ties into what we're talking about now. It's like the whole what they call it, the man in the stadium. Right? The person who tries and fails is it's more respect than the person who doesn't even get step in the ring at all. Yeah, I know there's like a certain phrase around it, but it's kind of like that. And this is what he says. I quote James Clear here, but I wrote this down. It's like the loser has more in common with the winner than with the person sitting on the sidelines. Okay, the winner and the loser each had the courage to try. Both risked embarrassment, fear. Both were willing to face uncertainty, fear and uncertainty, and both were um, driven enough to continue through that fear, that uncertainty, right? He goes on to say success is endurance in disguise. Like, basically, you had the fear, you face the fear, you push forward through that fear anyway, regardless. The sidelines are always safe but sterile. Nothing grows there, right? Just like we're talking about the comfort zone and stepping outside the comfort zone. You don't grow in that comfort zone.
No.
All growth happens outside of that comfort zone. Everybody knows that, right?
So I love those. Every one of those quotes I kind of sat on for a moment, and I think that's the hard part with you and I being coaches and being in the fitness world, is like we see this on a day-to-day basis. And again, like I had to step outside my own comfort zone to be in the same shoes as somebody in our line of work with what we do. The hope is that this message is also like I'd love for people to imagine the first thought that escapes their brain, or the first like words, and the person, like you said, that is actually attempting it and going through it and making the effort, and not right away making it a negative, making it an excuse, like finding a way out. Oh, I don't like to do this, I don't like to do that. Why are we doing this? Like, we hear this all the time. Like, I don't work out because I always enjoy it. 90% of the time I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy always pushing myself. I don't enjoy always trying new things. I don't always enjoy it, but I do it, and I do it without complaint. And I think that's a big factor that we try to get people at our gym, especially, is to like be outside your comfort zone. What if somebody walked in the gym besides Jamie Fenton and there was 1,000 burpees? Everybody's brain right away would be like, "Oh my God, what? Like, are they nuts? We can't do this. We can't." But like that's subconscious keeping you in your comfort zone. You are trying to wrap yourself in that bubble so that there is no discomfort, and you're immediately limiting what your capabilities are, instead of putting yourself through something and shutting down that inner talk. You know.
And like to your example of the 1,000 burpees, I mean it's easier said than done, but when you go in and you see that board and it says 1,000 burpees is the workout, instead of going, oh fuck, I'm gone, walking out the door. Instead, you think that's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Like that to be the default in anything that makes you uncomfortable, not just like the gym environment, but
I like the default word.
The default opportunity for growth. And then there is like another big piece of remaining in the comfort zone, and that's the cost.
Yes.
We're talking about the long-term cost of being comfortable.
Yeah. So just some things that I you and I have talked about and kind of spit off with like long-term costs. it is a loss of energy. It's a loss of confidence, loss of leadership presence, and it's a compounding decline, because you, if you're doing it in one area, it's very, very likely that you're doing it in another. And that's what we tend to find is like humans are creatures of habit. And if you're hesitant and you're not wanting growth in one area, there's very high chances that that same thing is leaking out in another area. So that loss of energy and loss of confidence, it just compounds more and more and more. So the same person that usually will complain about something because they're not capable usually does that across multiple platforms, and it's pretty like it's a natural response for them, and they half the time don't even know they're doing it. So it's just a natural response that they automatically shut down, and I'm not capable. And over time, that loss of energy, it starts to wear on you, because like ultimately everything just becomes a negative. Like, that's too hard, that's not in my wheelhouse, who do you think could do that? Like you just automatically are putting yourself in this negative bucket that's never attainable for you. What happens when somebody wants to do like a strict pull-up? Well, I've never done one in my life, I'll never be able to do one. I can't do one. I could barely do a ring row. Like you've already set yourself up for failure. Instead of, how do I start creating a path that allows me to do that? So that long term cost and comfort is a big thing.
Yep, it compounds time over time, and then ultimately what happens? You're 80, 85 years old on your deathbed, and you're looking back. Did you accomplish everything you wanted to? And ultimately, it's going to be no, and that's like that ties into fear. It's like the fear of regret. The
Yeah,
fear of regret is, I think that's for me. That's my biggest fear. I always think about that, like
yeah,
the fear of regret after living a full life, regretting not even trying to do this or trying to do that.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And just to touch on a little part of that really quick with that, one of two things can happen. You can take someone like you who looks at growth and they dissect their entire life. But the reality is, people that find that comfort zone and always find that excuse or that negative, like I can't do this or I can't attain that, it actually becomes part of their identity. So fast forward into the future, that has become so ingrained into their identity. Sometimes they don't ever see that as being a regret, because it is just built into them naturally. And it honestly consumes them in a way that it's really hard to reverse that thought process. You see people as they age, that negative thought process just becomes more abundant, and they're proving them otherwise is very, very hard to do, right? To prove to somebody that you do have that ability is very hard to do. And what ends up happening is they start creating their own little like bubble around themselves, protecting how they think about things. So they're never the one wrong, we're just crazy for wanting to push that.
it's almost like a defense mechanism,
It is, man.
right?
And like, so like, one of the last like topics we were going to talk about is like, it's a decision, not a feeling.
That's right, and it's an uncomfortable decision. Like in
Yeah.
those moments, it's an uncomfortable decision, but just like going back to the man on the sidelines or the man in the ring, yeah, it's uncomfortable. I have fear taking that first step into or outside the comfort zone into the zone of discomfort, whether it's that 1,000 burpee workout, whether it's going onto the stage to speak in front of a crowd of 500 people, whatever it is, but to just do it. Just move forward. Push past that fear. Everybody has a fear, but I guess what separates people, successful people, from the ones that are just dreamers is pushing through that fear and
Mm-hmm.
continuing forward. My takeaway was that is like, and I'm guilty of this too. Like if I have like something that's uncomfortable for me, for instance, posting social media content,
Same.
I will never ever feel like I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to be perfect. I want the production great. I want my natural speaking to be eloquent. All that. I want everything perfect. And I will never ever feel ready. like ready to hit that publish button, or ready to go on that stage, and deliver a speech to the crowd. So it's an active decision, and knowing that you're never actually going to feel 100% ready in your own mind, but to train yourself, get trained up on whatever it is you want to do, educate yourself enough to be able to at least start,
Mm-hmm.
and then just iterate. You just start and then you iterate. So make the conscious decision. You're not going to be fully ready ever, but make the conscious decision to go ahead and take that first step outside of the comfort zone
Yeah.
into that area of growth.
And I guess in summary on my end too is just that what you said is like try to make it a conscious thought. Try to, like I said in the beginning, peel back the layers and find why are you having that response? Why is your first reaction? And this doesn't even have to just be about workouts. We push workouts a lot because health is very important to us. But also, like why you and I are doing this is all these things we talk about with health is it's all encompassing around everything. You take this philosophy and now you tie it to your work, your relationship, your this, your that, your friendships, and it all works the same. But the first thing, like we talked about, is like we're all used to being in our comfort zone pockets, and how do you take yourself out of that comfort zone and have an opportunity for growth? Look at whatever's challenging you, whatever it is, and use it as a growth factor, and not something that like you're incapable of doing. You are capable of so many things, and if you fail, so fucking what? That is feedback. You failed,
Mm,
and that is now
feedback.
feedback
Yep.
that you get to take with you for the rest of your life and then keep doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. And yeah, we're actively focused on keeping this thing under
Yeah,
45 minutes
yeah,
like last time.
yeah. We'll
So
get better.
yeah, no. So I think one thing I will say is, anybody that's watching this, maybe you've been too comfortable not working out. You know that you need to work out. You know that your health is declining, or you just want to improve your overall health and fitness. We invite you to take a step outside of that comfort zone. Come to Game of Fitness, try out a class or two, free trial. See what you think. I guarantee you're gonna love the community here. You're gonna love the members and the staff. We invite you to come in and try us out. Take a step outside of that comfort zone.
See you guys.